Am I too old to learn Spanish? I get this question a lot, especially from older adults in their 50s and 60s or 70s. Am I too old? Did that ship sail when I was 30 or when I was a teenager? In this video, I'm going to address these concerns and put rest to a few common misconceptions about learning Spanish as an older adult. Now, my inspiration for this topic is my friend Steve Kauffman. Now, he's managed to master 9 languages since the age of 60. And far from saying that he can do that in spite of his advancing years, he would say he can do it because of them. Now, we'll get into this later, but if he can do it, I guarantee you can too. But first, let's back up a bit. Here are 2 things people often say to support the claim that older adults simply can't master Spanish. True or false? Adults learn Spanish much more slowly than children. This is false. Older adults will never be as fluent as people who started studying Spanish as teenagers or young adults. That would also be false. So if I'm saying both of these statements are false, then why do people constantly argue the contrary? Well, here's just a brief introduction to a lively debate in the linguistics world. It's called the critical period hypothesis, and it's a theory that was first developed in the 50s and popularized in the 60s. Basically, the theory suggests that biologically there is an ideal age for language acquisition. It argues that after puberty, a language learner will never be able to achieve full competency with respect to grammatical systems. Now, initially, this theory explicitly discussed learning your mother tongue. So does it also apply to second languages, like you learning Spanish, for instance? Well, interestingly, no, it doesn't. In the academic world, it's much less widely accepted, but for some reason, we're still bombarded with this myth. What we do know is that studies show that adults actually learn just as fast as children, if not faster. Now, this might seem hard to believe, but think about it. A child does learn sort of more organically, right? Like they hear Spanish at home or at school and they just seem to pick it up. It's true that their brains are still developing, so they're almost like sponges. It seems almost effortless. But if you've ever met a fully bilingual or even multilingual kid, you know that their parents encourage them and they do a lot of things to actually learn a new language. In fact, they are surrounded by those languages, usually from birth. But consider this, even in their native languages, how many years does it take a child to become fully competent in their mother tongue or mother tongues? Really, a child doesn't begin to express themselves very fluently for at least 10 years. Now, as an adult, there are a number of factors that give you a significant advantage over children at learning Spanish. Take the idea of self-discipline, for example. Children can't decide when they're going to study. They need people to tell them when to do it for them. But as an adult, you have plenty of self-discipline and you can arrange your schedule however you want. Focus and study skills. Adults learn much faster if they're focused because they have a lifetime of experience of learning. You can cover a lot more ground than a child can, many, many times more. You are already fully competent in English. Just ask any Spanish teacher who's worked with both adults and kids. The methodology is totally different because you can't teach a kid a foreign language using their own language as a base because they haven't mastered that yet, and it's a lot harder. You've also got significant life experience, which a kid doesn't have. As an adult, you can draw on previous experiences in the world to make inferences about the Spanish language, like connecting words between English and Spanish or even other languages you might have picked up. This helps you use your brain and your intellectual powers to learn words faster. So really, the idea that children learn faster than adults is a complete myth as it relates to languages. But what about younger adults, like teenagers or even people in their 20s or 30s? Do they have a bigger advantage over, say, someone in their 60s? Well, really not at all. An adult's age doesn't impact their ability to become fluent in another language. The number one factor to learning a language and learning it well is motivation. Regardless of your age, you have to be motivated to learn. Now sure, it's true that your brain starts to function differently as you get older, but it's not the reason you can't learn a language. It's your motivation that's key. As an older adult, you also benefit in a couple of other ways too. For example, you may have more time to dedicate to your pursuits, especially if you're retired. You also know what it takes. This is not the first time you've tried to learn something. And since you have a wealth of life experiences, challenges, and accomplishments to draw on, you're going to be able to approach the task of learning in a much more mature way than a teenager. Older adults are just more motivated to accompany their goals. Just think about all those kids who take Spanish in high school or university. How many of them are actually fluent today? Very few, and I bet many weren't even motivated at all when they were there. There's only one area of language acquisition where it's been shown that younger adults or children actually do better than older adults, and that is in the likelihood that you will be able to develop a native-like accent. But accent aside, in terms of actually learning the language, understanding grammatical systems and so on, adults and even older adults can achieve near native-like fluency with the right approach. So now you know that you are not too old to learn Spanish. You have my full permission to study as hard as you can to reach your goals. And this channel is dedicated to giving you everything you need, so don't forget to subscribe if you'd like more videos like this. If you're excited to work on your Spanish, then I've created a huge selection of resources based on this video and other things that is everything you need to improve your Spanish. To get free access to this, then head over to the Spanish Vault, which you can find by clicking the link in the video description below. Please subscribe to this channel for much more like this, and I'll see you back in the next video. Adios!